golden hour on radio.
Today we're speaking with Brendan Lee, video artist and photographer whose subject matter focuses on the Bogan and contemporary Australian society. Considering the subject matter of Bogan-proof fences, I'm curious as to where you grew up.
My family first lived in a commission house in Braybrook and then moved to Melton in the late 70s. At this point in time, most of the people there were young families, 2 kids, roughly about my age. It was a small town that absorbed blue-collar workers from Broadmeadows and the western suburbs, drawing them in with cheap land. Nothing changes.
And what were the Bogans like where you grew up? How were they perceived?
The Bogans were easily identified as those that went to one of the 2 pubs. The Golden Fleece was the old man's pub, and the Max Hotel the home of the weekend brawl. The Max Hotel was a Bogan magnet on a weekend, with the customary flanny shirt replaced with a cheap synthetic one that the Bogans' parents brought them at Christmas from Venture or Fossey's. I only ever went there twice. I opted to drink in the park most weekends, and both times I was victimised for being a skateboarder, or worse still, unknown by the Bogans. Someone who didn't play for the Melton Bloods, obviously, or drive.
How does your latest exhibition, Bogan-proof fences, at the Substation in Newport, differ from last year's Australia Days at the CCP?
Australia Days, which was shown at the CCP, dealt with the stereotypes and characteristics of Bogans and Hoons. I created short vignettes outlining their attitudes and sense of nationalism. With Bogan-proof fences, I've contrasted the icons against the affluential yearnings of the nostalgia Bogan versus the cashed-up Bogan. The nostalgia Bogan is one from the 70s up until 1988. They're predominantly blue-collar, Victorian, love VFL football due to its staunch localism and almost religious following of Aussie brands. When we think of Bogans today, we're generally reflecting upon the nostalgia Bogan. What we have with the cashed-up Bogan, though, is the same attitudes inflected into possessiveness and narrow-mindedness, taking in commodities and a general attempt at one-upping the neighbours. Rather than wanting to be equal, like the nostalgia Bogan, they've taken on the attitude of being better than the Joneses.
Do you believe that the Bogan is, or was, perhaps a reactionary statement or social movement against the cultural cringe?
I see the Bogan as a social construct. Yeah, I went to university. That's manufactured by the media. It's the Australian identity that we perceivably don't have, which contrasts the archetype of the bushranger Mad Max iconography that we've held on to since Federation. Bogans are generally anti-intellectual when they don't need to be educated to be wealthy or have a lot of useless but expensive crap. Then there is a reaction that happens in society. Attitudes change. Keating saw off the last of the nostalgia Bogans, and Howard ushered in the next wave.
Do you think the Bogan is in decline? Or is it more like social history, moving in ebbs and flows?
I'm of the firm belief that Boganality comes and goes. It was definitely on the outer in the 90s, and returned with nationalism and blue-collar prosperity in the 2000s. If you look at Tony Abbott, he's morphing into the hyper-Bogan. He's been advised by his media relations team and marketers to act this way, because it's going to win him votes. It's a clever tactic that will last as long as there is the cashed-up Bogan. Once they become welfare dependent, no one likes a Liberal berating them as a bludger, not even one that was a Bogan.
Well, one that was acting like a Bogan anyway. Thanks a lot, Brendan, and all the best with your show at the Substation in Newport.
Hope that's okay.
Cheers.